Welcome, folks. It's Big Grid Tuesday. We are joining qualifying now here at the Nurburgring, and it is rainy in Germany. Following John Bonham in his Ferrari now, as he comes to finish a fast lap in the pro category. And we've got a queue of cars behind him as well. As he puts his lap in, we'll check on that in a minute. As Alexis Moda crosses the line next, followed by the 101. Francisco Moda, brother. Naturally, as it is Big Grid Tuesday, we got a pretty full one today. Having a look right now, we have 31 drivers on the grid at the moment. We'll have to see if there are any late joiners before the beginning of the race session. For the moment, it's JC Ampero on pole with a provisional time of a 2 minutes .3. The AM driver showing some formidable pace so far, a time that will likely stand as that was set in the dry earlier in the session. Making the rule for AM drivers qualifying earlier, working to Ampero's advantage here, and really to all of the AM drivers' advantage, as we have German Campos, Pinney, and Chavez Fonseca all AM drivers populating the top 5, along with the silver driver of Campus. Following Moda now in the 101 Ferrari. We'll quickly jump ahead to the other Moda, coming to finish his lap, as Bonham goes to finish another, moves up to 14th now, does not get past Alexis. And the 88 car now approaching the line. We'll find that is very... looks to be beginning a flying lap. It's the 10 now. Prince also looking to be starting a lap. I'll catch up back around the circuit now with the 51. That's Olach in the Beamer here. We'll have to see if this is a fast lap or if this is an out lap as we draw near the conclusion of qualifying. And through the final corner now to the line, we'll have to see. There's the time. There's no improvement or change. And he looks to be pressing onward here, so this will be the flying lap by the looks of it. And we'll now jump back following the 18 of Zanotti. That classic red Ferrari. Now coming to the end of his lap. As the rain looks to be thickening. It's obviously not ideal for the laps of these remaining drivers, as there's no improvement from Zanotti at the line here. We'll have to see if this is an out lap. The 88 does move up with that lap. And now the 10 coming through the line. of Prince. No movement on that lap. The 101 now of Moda. No improvement there. And the 34. Also no improvement. Alexis Moda. The 888s. Through the final corner. Will he stay 13th? He will. You have to think that will be it. And we'll be looking at a fairly decisive grid here. Unless he can put in a better one. But with these conditions worsening, it's hard to think there's going to be time set any faster than the M's and the Silvers early on. Very strong line through there. You could hear the tires screaming. As we'll jump ahead now to the 18. His time has expired. Here's Zanotti. On the session, we have a max wait time of just about 3 minutes. Zanotti, through the final corner, looks to be abandoning his lap. Here's Ferry. Crosses the line. He will improve. He'll move up to 18th as the 12 to the line now. That's Diaz. May and will not improve. As Francisco Moda to the line now. No improvement there. And now we'll go back to Alexis. As that Emerald and Black Ferrari comes to the line, looks to move ahead. Will not do it. It looks as though Cody may. Okay, so now we'll take a look at our qualifying results here at the Nurburgring. We have Ampero, German, and Campos at the top three, 2 Ams and a silver driver. We've got Craig Pinney behind them and John Bonham, the first pro driver on the order in P5. Follow that up with Chavez Fonseca, Bravo, Bailing, Francisco Moda, Rambo, and in the top 10. And we now go onto the grid. You heard the call there from the engineer. We are going to have a wet race today. The track is indeed wet. It is going to get wetter. Is the projection. 17 degrees out. It's fairly chilly. We have a wet race. And let's double check the size of the grid now that we are out there. Indeed, it is 31 cars. That we're going to take out skating. This is sure to be a fun one here at the Nurburgring. I certainly chose the right day to pick up the broadcast here. Although, I have to think this would have been a decent opportunity to be on the grid today. But nonetheless, we look forward to a very enthralling race here with so many cars going into this particular turn 1 is sure to be interesting, to say the least. Who knows what to anticipate? I'm sure we'll all be very, very impressed to see the field get through here cleanly. Regardless, I think this is going to be a treat, as I said. 31 cars here at the Nurburgring. We are on the Grand Prix circuit, which means going into turn 1, it is a hard right hairpin. Lots of runoff. It really is tough to know what to expect here. And especially how the grid will shake itself out over the course of the first few laps, with any incidents that may occur as drivers get a feel for the track and cope with the wet conditions and recover from any early issues that may have occurred. Doesn't quite look like I'm being given the right car. I've selected Ampero, but I'm being shown Zanotti. We'll see how this resolves itself once we get to the beginning of the race. But for those that are with me so far, as we now approach about 30 seconds to go, we're at the 37-second mark. This is the ARL Console Big Grid Tuesday Champion Series, Season 11. A long-running tradition now. And alright. I'm gonna wait for the session to start to back out, and I'll have proper access to my menu and the correct cameras. There we go. Not quite. As we begin to roll off the grid, doesn't seem to be entirely thrilled with the idea of me returning to the garage right now. We'll resolve this issue once we cross the line. Because we don't want it. Oh, we're using the ghosting to get a little shifty on the first lap here, but already it is wet out there. As we follow Ampero through. Here's Lopez. We'll move our way through the pack here and really take in how arbitrary this particular camera system is when it comes to selecting drivers. As Carraro seems to have an issue off the line. We caught that just in time. We're going to want to make our way back to Ampero for the start. One hour. 1:06 p.m. in game time. At the Nurburgring here in Germany. It is the Grand Prix circuit. The rainy conditions aren't quite as treacherous as they might be on the full ring. But with a grid this big, we currently have 30 cars now. Two in the pits, we have Carraro and Schultz in the pits, two silver drivers in the Mustang and the 296. But for the beginning of the race, all the eyes are going to be on this man Ampero. With Tremont looking to gain an advantage off the start as we begin to rack him up. It's Big Grid Tuesday in the America's Racing League. I'm Catherine Lane. Thank you so much for joining as we take in the scenes now, heading through the final chicane. And German is going to want to make sure to give that spot back here, or else there's going to be a penalty on offer there. Will be a drive-through for jumping the start. I know that because I've done it. And onto the pit straight now. They rack him up. This speeding start for the 74. There's the penalty, and here we go. Ampero into the first corner. German attacking. But Ampero holds them off. Here we go now. German is going to go for the move, but Ampero is holding on to it still. There's commotion behind. Campos is looking for the move now on German to take second place. And Penny is also looking to get in there. There's too much to call here. Bonham is slowly seeming to get by both of them. He makes his way by Penny. Moza stays in the picture, but has been careful so far. Oh, that's Bravo, my bad. Oh, we have an off here. It's Chavez Fonseca in the Lexus. The AM driver's gone off. Ampero holding a safe lead now. I say safe, this could change in an instant at any point. In these conditions, it's a big lunge there. It's a big lunge from German. Doesn't get anywhere with it as my leaderboard starts to freak out. We have drivers off the track here, I imagine. Calamities all over the place. The 917 is off. The 9 is off. Or that's the 5. We're still following Ampero now. German's going to go for another move. This is extremely close at the front. Campos now has actually moved up into the second place. The leaderboard is yet to catch up, but it seems as though German's gone off. It looks like we have Ampero, then Campos, and then Francisco Moza. No. German has settled in. Bonham has gotten in there. We'll have to wait for them to come around to the line here for this to sort itself out, but Ampero holds the lead through the first lap. Oh, as back in the field here, it looks like we have here we have Francisco Moza and German fighting it out now, but the Ferrari moves ahead into turn 1. And that'll be fourth place, I believe. Ampero still holding the point here. Campos is trying to make a move though. 3 Ferraris at the front now. Campos goes a little bit wide. Bonham's going to look to capitalize on that. The drive-through for Faraji the Squirrel has been cleared in his Ferrari. Ampero looking strong here in the rain. But now Bonham is through into P2. And is going to look to attack here. How will the AM driver cope against the Pro? Moza still remains in the picture, a second back from Bonham. 2 Pro drivers now on the hunt. Ampero is going to look to hang on to it as Bonham's getting closer now. Stays on the bumper. Looks like the door is starting to open. Not yet. Ampero's holding on to it. Bonham to the outside. Will there be contact? No, they keep it tighty. Campos flies into the corner. Well, German flies out of it. We'll have to see where he went. Gets back on, keeps it together, looks to have lost a few positions. Bravo seems to have gotten by. And now Ampero still, JC Ampero and John Bonham going at it up front in the Ferrari. Ampero, an impressive defense so far, handling the wet conditions extremely well. He put it on pole with the advantage of the dry track. The 19 has gone off. Ampero still holding on now. 5 laps into this, or 5 minutes into this thing, just about. Ampero seems to have gotten a better exit as Moza is looking to make a move on Bonham now. We'll move back to that. Bonham still holding the position here, but the 101 looks to the inside as Bonham's going to get a better exit there and make another attack on Ampero. These three slightly are breaking away from Campos now, but Ampero still with the lead. Bonham to the inside. Is he going to get the better exit? No. Ampero still holds on to the inside there and keeps the position as Bonham goes slightly wide. Moza is right there looking to capitalize, but Bonham gets by on the straight. A big move with the power on the straight. Had a better exit and it ended up taking the move late. And it looks like Moza's going to use the space to get by. No. We have a close clash here. Ampero still looking to hold on to P2, stay on the podium. Moza slipped by. It looks like Campos is going to slip by as well. So that's going to see Ampero down to 4th place, overtaken by the 2 pros and the silver driver, under attack from another silver driver of Bravo. We have 6 Ferraris at the front of this field now. The stability absolutely showing its strength. We have Liriano is not quite having a good one. Is stopped on track right now. I'll have to wonder if this is going to get cleared or what's happening there. Not looking great there. We have Chicas and we have Schultz in the pits. But at the front, we have Bonham's going to be our pro leader. Ampero in 4th place. Our pole sitter is going to sit in 4th at the moment, but leading the AM class. Craig Pinney now, P2 in AM. And that Mustang is sitting P7 overall. And German, who's had a shocker of our first few laps, has gone from P2 down to now P7. As the power of that Mustang is going to get him way in front. Actually, he's made the move already. As Zanatti here. There is too much action happening here. There is battles all over the place. As Rambo now seems to be going... Oh, slight contact between Rambo and Hunt, or in German, as Hunt looks to capitalize behind. Up at the front, John Bonham looks to have opened up a significant gap. 2 seconds to Campos, who is still on the defense from Moza. That's Francisco Moza. Alexis sits back in 15th. He's going to be looking to capitalize on these battles up front as we have a decent cluster. Zanatti has made some space in front of it and is looking to make a move on Bravo ahead. The number 18 of Zanatti. The pro driver, the number 14, the silver driver of Bravo, who's not too far behind Ampero now either. These 3 Ferraris looking to get into the wars here with each other as Bravo's taking a look at Ampero. What is Zanatti gonna do here? Is he going to sit back and wait for these 2 to have the fisticuffs and take the opportunity, or will he take matters into his own hands as Pinney's coming up behind as well in that Mustang? German holding on a ferry here as Rambo's sitting comfortably here in 8th. But German holding on to from the Mustang behind. The Mustang power down the straight here. Taking the slipstream now is Hunt, followed by the McLaren of Diaz-Mea, and Alexis Moza's going on the attack there. Hunt sticks to the nose of that Mustang to the inside, gets it alongside. They're going to battle through the corner here, but he's going to back out and try to use the next opportunity. Diaz-Mea here. On the defense from Alexis Moda. We have battles all over the place. Francisco Moda attacking Campos at the front. Still that battle going on. Ampero seems to be holding off Bravo for now. Zanotti lurking behind them. Penny sitting slightly behind. He's P2 and AM right now. P3 and AM is Rambo behind him, P8 overall. And Sherman seems to have held off Hunt for now. Let's take a look at the front. It's a decent lead for Bonham now. About 4.5 seconds. Back to Campos, who's holding off Moda still. Let's take a look back at this battle, the Ferrari and the McLaren. We have a decent battle here with the AM driver of Diaz. Oh, have we missed something here? Yes, actually. Moda does seem to have gotten around Diaz-Mea and is now looking to get by the Mustang of Hunt. This pro driver looking to cut his way through the field and make use of the somewhat contained track spread so far. As no move quite yet. Here's Bonham, over 5-second lead now. Moda still super hungry on the back of Campos's bumper. 5 Ferraris sit at the front of this field, followed by the Mustang of Penny, the Aston Martin of Rambo. Ampero has fallen down to 8th, our pole sitter. That's still on the podium in AM class, though, but he sits in P3 in class. The back half of the top 10 are now about all a second apart. Safe for Hunt in this cluster. Moda has gotten by Hunt. That's Alexis into P9. As we take a look a little bit further back in the field here to see what kind of action we have Liriano and Schultz still in the pits. A few laps down, we'll have to think these are going to be retirements. Chavez Fonseca's hasn't recovered from that early incident. Sits 28th. And we'll go back to the front here. We'll stay with this battle as it's quite intriguing, but let's check in on the battle for P2 as they are still nose to tail, those 2 Ferraris. Battling it out as Moda now makes the move on the outside going into the final corner. Doesn't stick. They're side by side now coming to the line. They're going to drag it out here, but Campos looks to maybe have had the better exit, got earlier on the power and holds the position. Who's going to break better? Coming into T1 now. Campos holds the inside, fans it out wide. He's gone wide, and it's Moda. Francisco Moda through into P2, and he'll begin his chase on Campos. We'll have to see what kind of attack, or his chase on Bonham, my bad. But that's Moda past Campos for P2. As those 2 Ferraris battle for position that's gone on since almost the third lap of this race. We're now 15 minutes or so in. Has finally come to a conclusion for the time being, but we'll see what kind of retribution Campos can get. But that's Moda into P2. The other in P9 now, working his way up, has gone by the silver driver of Hunt, is now going to go try to work his way through the AM podium of Penny, Rambo, and Ampero. He's currently a second and a half off of that Ferrari of Ampero. As we've had an electric start in the rain here in Germany. But it's John Bonham, the pro driver in the Ferrari, taking point. 7 seconds now ahead of Francisco Moda, as that battle between him and Campos has opened up a decent gap for Bonham since taking the lead off the start and allowing that battle behind him to just slow those two other podium drivers down. But we've really started to settle into this thing now, but it looks like we've got a decent battle here still brewing around the edge of the top 10, as Hunt and Germain are still absolutely going at it. As Diaz Mea here, we have a cluster of cars bailing behind, and then Prince also battling it out with Ferry in the equation. A 4-car battle here. We're going to follow Prince as he looks to be making the move on Ferry. Gets close here, but it's not quite close enough. We'll see what he can do at the exit. These two pro drivers sitting behind 2 silvers and 2 AMs. The Ferrari, or the straight line speed of the Mustang is certainly working to Hunt's advantage here, especially against the Lamborghini, which is draggy as all get out. What do we have at the front? Nothing quite new to report here. It's an 8-second gap from P1 to P2. We still have Penny now. And P6 is at the front of the AM class. That means that Zanatti has gotten by those two and is looking at getting by Bravo now. We'll have to keep an eye on this battle. Bonham still taking point. And Penny here at the front of AM class. Rambo trailing by about 2 seconds. Another 2 seconds back to Ampero, and then Alexis Moda is on the chase. Has gotten by Ampero. As finally there are the leaderboard updates. So that's Moda now up into P8. He's going to try and chop his way up into at least the top 5, you'd have to think. Plenty of race to go still. We're under 45 minutes. But in the rain, especially rain this heavy, that looks to only be increasing as this race goes on. For the drivers, it is an extremely long 42 minutes still to go in this one, as Moda does seem to be closing the gap to Bonham ever so slightly, opening it up to Campos behind. It's 8 seconds now, about even, from Bonham to Moda. We still have 5 Ferraris populating the top 5 here. Zanatti still looking to make a move on Bravo. And Penny just lurking behind in that Mustang, but he's going to be focused more on what's behind him than what's in front of him. Still a decent gap back to Rambo. That's about 2.2 seconds now between the top 2 AM drivers. With Moda on the hunt. Only about a second now behind the Aston of Rambo. Ampero trailing Moda now still by about a second. Hunt seems to have opened up a gap to Germain here. And it looks as though Ferry has gotten by the Lamborghini as well. It has not been the most ideal of starts for Germain here, starting at on the front row. Has fallen back to now 12th place. And where do we have Prince here? Slightly drifted behind these two. Big action in this cluster. Diaz Maya followed by Carlos Lopez. Lopez is going to go for a move in the Ferrari. Behind them, we have Will Garwood. And fantastic action here. Bailing has gotten by this group. But Prince is going to look to hold off that battle and ideally make the move on German sooner than later. As the gap from Bonham to Moda has opened back up at the front. That's Francisco Moda on the 101. Alexis is currently in P8, having moved up from, I believe, 12th. Here's German, now populating 12th. Is going to be holding off Prince very soon. Those similarly colored German cars. We have the Lamborghini and the Porsche. Both the first representative of their marks in this field. We have 5 Ferraris at the front, followed by a Ford of Penny, followed by the Aston Martin of Rambo. 2 more Ferraris, another Ford, and Aston Martin, and then the first Lamborghini of German, the first Porsche of Prince. And then we'd go back to Diaz Maya to find our first McLaren. Currently sitting P15 overall, P5 in the AM class. The gap to Campos and Moda, closing just slightly. We wonder if Moda's had a moment. There it is, P2 to P3, back to P4. Here's Zanotti, Bravo, and Penny, followed by Rambo and Moda. Moda now approaching the back of that Aston Martin. A late lunge. There's contact. Alexis Moda into the back of Rambo. And it's going to hit him with the see you later. Will not apologize. Takes the position. Moda with the late dive on Rambo. It's a bit of a spin for the Aston Martin, and the Ferrari goes through. That's going to be Alexis Moda up into P7, and he's going to begin his chase on Penny. And into the battle with the pros and silvers ahead. What's that? And Hunt now. Sitting P10, Barry looks to have gotten by. Back on the chase here. And what do we have with Prince and German? Prince has gotten by German. And it's back at the front here, Bonham running comfortably. And 11 seconds now behind Moda, but there's the battle between Moda and Campos. Just about a second now. Zanotti has made his way by Bravo and is up into P4. He's going to be looking to chase down that silver driver to take the podium overall. We'll keep an eye on this as Moda approaches the Mustang of Penny. Let's get the perspective from the Mustang here. Looking just further back. We'll switch back to the Ferrari in pursuit. This battle is for P6. We have Craig Penny in the Ferrari, or in the Mustang. Alexis Moda in the Ferrari. Penny is your AM leader. Moda currently sits P4 in class. There's no attempt for a move yet. But Moda is closing, threatening, looming in the mirror of that Mustang. There's a late move. We saw contact from Moda earlier with that late lunge, so we know what we might be able to expect. Was that bravery or was it aggression is the question. And we'll have to see how Moda handles the slower driver here. And to the outside goes Moda. He's going to throw it around early on the power. And there's your move from Moda on Penny for P6. Penny stays with him. He stays on the power, sits in the slipstream, is going to be absolutely overwhelmed with the spray. But through the chicane, Moda using the maneuverability of that Ferrari to break away from the Mustang. How is it going to shake up under power here now down the front stretch as we close in on about 30 minutes to go in this rain-soaked tilt in Germany. Moda gaining an advantage. He's going to get to work now on chasing down Bravo. So we now have 6 Ferraris at the front of this field. It's 13.4 seconds from John Bonham to Francisco Moda. From P1 to P2, both pros, followed by the silver driver of Campos, who's now within a second. That's 7/10 of Moda. They're going to have another little battle here. They're not done by any means, and we have yet to encounter pit stops yet. It's 3 seconds to Zanotti behind them. Let's take another look back at this battle. It's under a second now as we continue to see Moda's charge through the field. Under a second to Bravo, as you saw Zanotti come through your frame. There's those two as we continue to follow this battle. There's the dive from Moda. Came out of nowhere to make that one. You should have seen it coming, and it's clean. He's cleanly through. That's Moda up into the top 5. That's going to be P4 in the pro class. Can Penny do something with this? It's 6/10 now only between Penny and Rambo, as well as the Aston Martin gets close and looks to take the AM lead. 15 seconds now for John Bonham at the front, but here's Campos, now all the way on the back of Francisco Moda, is going to make a move. He stays right on the bumper, throws it to the outside. He's going to try to get the inside for the next left-hander. Doesn't quite get it. But there's a lot of time to be gained with clever braking through this section of Sector 1. How's this battle going to shake up? This is for P2 overall. Between the silver driver Moda, or the silver driver Campos, the pro driver Moda. Moda holds on still. Intriguing battles all the way through the top 10. It looks like May has had an incident and followed down the order. There seems to be something going on at the top of the 20s. It's Bonham, way at the front. And Campos is going to line up for another attack. Penny still holding station from Ferry here. Maintaining about 8 seconds, the Mustang is. And another bout. Oh, my mistake. Actually, it's about 2 seconds, the gap. Penny staying within striking distance of Bravo. So we'll have to see how this shakes out, but Penny still comfortably leading the AM class in his Mustang. Let's go back to this battle for P2. Campos has dropped off just a little bit from Francisco Moda. Zanotti slowly closing in on this battle, as Craig Penny is going to be the first to pit. That Mustang comes down the pit lane, and now the strategy is going to start to come into play. Although we did have stops earlier that I missed from Garwood, Ferraro, Lynch, Solberg, and Cheekus. We'll have to see how that all shakes out. It seems then it would be Garwood was the first to pull the trigger in that Ferrari. Penny in the pits now, though. Oh, as we come back now, Campos has made the move on Moda. That's going to be Campos back up into P2. He gets his way back up there. Moda's passed him once. Will he pass him again? This is only going to make things sweeter and a lot more comfortable in this rainy weather for John Bonham at the front. 18.5 seconds plus is the gap between P1 and P2. The gap between P2 and P3 is nothing as Campos and Moda continue to scrap it out. But they have to be careful or else they'll both lose out with Zanotti. Just beginning to hover now behind that battle within striking distance. Excuse me. Alexis Moda has moved all the way up now from an early spot okay, John Bonham in the pits. He's going to use his advantage at the front. There should be no worries for him on this strategy unless somebody can pull a massive, massive undercut. Campos holding P2 though. Also into the pits, followed by Zanotti. It's going to be Moda staying out. Both Modas staying out. That's going to put those two Ferraris now at the front, provisionally going into the pit cycle, followed by Ferry in the Aston Martin. All staying out this lap while Bonham, Campos, Zanotti, Bravo, and now Rambo into the pits. We had Penny go in first and start the cycle. Francisco Moda now. Has assumed the lead of this race with Bonham in the pits. Bonham now on the exit now. Bonham's out of the pits, so we'll have to see how this shakes out. It looks to be we'll have to wait for this to update. Now we're finally showing the Modas at the top of the charts. And Bonham running looks to be P4. But he is in the wars here now at the back of the field with the Beamer and the McLaren. I believe that is... Here we have Olach in the pits. Let's find what our provisional leader is caught up in here. That's the 98 of Pilata. As Bonham goes by. In the BMW, that is. Currently sitting in P8. Has yet to pit. Through the pit cycle. That puts John Bonham, our provisional leader, in P7. We have Francisco Moda at the front going into the pits. Followed by Alexis Moda. Also in the pits. Very behind. Staying out. Looking to gain some sort of advantage in the pro class in that Aston Martin. It's Hunt still staying out as well in the Mustang. Bailing coming through the chicane now, followed by Ampero. Those are our drivers in the top 10 who have pitted. Bailing is in. Ampero stays out. The Modas are also still in. So we see the cars on pit road now. We follow the Motas. We'll come out here. Here's Ferry in the lead. On track. Here's Ampero now continuing to go still. Bailing on his way into the pits. As we see Francisco on his way out. Alexis will be leaving not so far behind. In the pits we have Pilata as well now in the 98. Compelling pit cycle here. We have a lot of drivers who have come in now. If you take a look at the green dashes here next to the names. Sanchez into the pits now as well. Moda on track. Here's Bonham. We're going to see how this shakes out with our leader. Will likely be still comfortably ahead. What this will be really intriguing for is Pinney and Ferry. Those two battling it out, as well as what happens with the other Ferrari near the front. Have we had a retirement? Seems as though we might have. Oh, Bravo, my bad. Lost track of where he was on the timing screen. Sanchez leaves the pits now. Ferry finally comes in. Here's Hunt, also on his way in. Ampero still out, coming through the chicane. And now he'll make his way into the pits. Here's Bonham. We see... Here he is now. We'll be cycling back through. 3 drivers ahead in the pits. Here's our leader. Comes thundering back down the pit straight, and that will see him back through into the lead with about 24 minutes to go in this race here at the Nurburgring. Cody May staying out, trying to gain what advantage he can from the overcut. As we see, here's Carlos Lopez coming in. Ampero will surely be out soon. Barry on his way out. Where is he in comparison to Pinney coming down the straight? It looks like Barry is going to gain the advantage here. We'll have to let this shake out to see exactly where we're at. Here's Hunt sitting P2 now on the board. Most likely not correct. Here we go. May still to pit. Lopez in the pits. We have Rambo has come out. We have Chavez, Fonseca in the pits as well. We have David Bender still needing to pit as well. Here we go. Now this seems to be making more sense. Here's Cody May. Also yet to pit in that McLaren, taking it long. Francisco Moda has returned to provisional P2 here once May pits. Ferry has significantly gotten the overcut on Pinney. And Alexis Moda looking to make a move on the Aston Martin here. This has not worked out well for Zanatti, who's fallen from P4 to P6 through the pit cycle. That will be P5 once May makes his stop. But Moda and Ferry getting by Zanatti through the pit cycle there, but this has gone disastrously for Campos, who was in the fight for P2, now finds himself P7. Overall, Pinney's lost a few spots. Still holds the AM class lead. Here we have May staying out yet another lap. It's going to be a real gamble here for May. We're going to see how this works for him. Might pick up a lot of positions on the lower positions where he has been dwelling for most of the race. That's Bender into the pits now in his Mustang. Back to the battles at the front. Moda now still... Has he gotten by? Ferry doesn't look like he has quite yet. It's hard to tell from the cameras. Yes. Quite convincingly so. As Ferry goes from defending one Moda brother to the other. Francisco's gone by. Alexis now coming up to the back of that Aston Martin. As the 888 continues his charge from outside the top 10. Zanotti is going to see what he can do to capitalize on this battle and get his positions back. Campos going to be apoplectic with the result of his pit cycle in the 24. Pitty's just going to want to hold station. He's got about 3 seconds or so of an advantage to the next AM driver, Rambo. Hunt is in the mix here still as well. Bravo's had a disastrous pit cycle as well, falling out of the top 5. But at the front still, it is John Bonham. Cody May. Will he pit this lap, staying out? It looks like he has pushed it another lap. He's already gone through T1 and the opening sequence of corners. Francisco Moda now is coming up on the back of May. We'll have to see how hard May is going to defend P2 here. This is for position, but given May's strategy, I may be borderline to fight for this. We saw an example of a similar situation between Michelle and Duffin in the multi-class 2 weeks ago. Or last week, I should say. The driver on a long strategy, staying out, significantly defending and holding up a provisional lead driver in the lead of class. So we'll have to see what happens. We do look to see a slight decrease in rain, but it may just be too late to see before the end of this race. Moda now right on the back of May. This is for P2. Under the pressure now, you think May might pit this lap. Ferry looks to have opened up a slightly larger gap now to Alexis Moda. Zanotti still trailing, just staying back of that by about 2.5. Fifth to 7th here, looking to be consistently about a second, 2 seconds apart. And then we have the gap from Campos to Pinney. As May finally pits. That's Cody May into the pits. Things will finally resume as usual from before the pit cycle at the front. It's a 20-second gap. Oh, okay, we have, I believe that's Carraro coming out of the pits near our leader. No, my bad. Got that one wrong. I'll have to see which Mustang that is. Bonham and Moda separated by about 18 seconds, as very close to what they were before the pit cycle. Now we're going to have to see. This is a very intriguing strategy move from May. We're going to have to see how this works out, because he was buried earlier in this race. And we'll have to see what kind of move he's making with his pit stop here. Looks to have cleared up the damage. This is going to be May out of the pits shortly. Here we go. A few more cars to come by. Audrey the Squirrel coming up now. This should put May roughly around... Oh, it seems to be a masterstroke from Cody May. Oh, my bad. Oh, dear. Ignore that. Maybe not. We'll have to see what that shakes out to. Here we have a little bit of a drag down the straights, as that looks like Bonham going through the lap traffic of Carraro. That actually is Carraro. Here's Francisco Moda. Ferry is still holding on from Alexis, but is going to try and catch a draft off this McLaren. And there he goes for the pass to lap. And stick that McLaren between himself and his pursuer, Alexis Moda. A slight sigh of relief for Moda there to see a car between him and that Ferrari. As his Aston Martin breaks up the line of Ferraris at the front of this field, as we have Bonham and Francisco Moda in there two at the front, followed by the Aston, a Ferry, and now three more Ferraris of Alexis Moda, Zanotti, and Campos. We'll be feeling slightly better with the points of P6 compared to P7. Will not be thrilled with falling off of the podium through the pit cycle. Bonham taking it easy as ever at the front. As there's Moda and there's Ferry, and it looks like... No. Ooh, Alexis Moda still having difficulty with this McLaren and putting the lap on it, as finally the move gets done, as Ferry is scuttled away by about 3 seconds. Certainly making the most of the opportunity, and is going to try to chase down that other Ferrari. Here we have Zanotti. Campos looks to have closed in on him between a second now, between 5th and 6th, as Campos is going to look to get himself into the top 5. There's the difference through the chicane. Campos now within striking distance through the final corner. Who's going to get earlier on the loud pedal? As we see Penny just slightly up the road. Zanotti, Campos fighting through here. Just behind them, we have Bravo and Penny at the front of this decent gaggle of cars. We saw Hunt there and Rambo as well. Let's go back to Campos and Zanotti here, as Campos is getting close. A little bit of a wobble there. Zanotti, smooth. And Campos now lining up another attack. How late's he going to go on the brakes? Keeping it safe here in a battle like this. In the rain, typically you only have, a small handful of overtaking zones, if not 1 or 2, where you can viably make a pass. Rain is the equalizer. You never know on this circuit where somebody's going to try something, as the move could happen anytime here. 3.5 seconds now from Alexis Moda to Ferry, as the Aston opens that gap up. There we have a lapped Mustang, and does it look like we have a move here now happening? Not quite. Bravo, though. Oh, Bravo and Hunt going into it. There's all sorts of action here. We're going to have to look ahead at Bravo making the move on Penny. He's going to get his spot back from before the pit cycle. But it looks like Hunt's also going to take advantage, as now we have 2 Mustangs dragging it out down the straight. Man, that's something you got to love to see as a pure enjoyer of horsepower. The two Mustangs duking it out here. As now back at the front, Alexis Moda has closed in his gap a little bit. Ferry. Zanotti has gotten by Campos by the looks of it. No, never mind. They were battling in that order. Campos now making the move on Zanotti, however. And I was just slightly ahead of myself, as Zanotti will have to fight back for it now. It's Campos ahead of Zanotti with the big move through the first sector. And Zanotti is going to try and send it back through. A slight wobble here as well. An intriguing battle here for the final spot of the top 5. Bravo's going to try and scuttle away from that little pack behind. And Hunt is going to scuttle away with 8th place. Playing the long game and getting ahead of Penny. And it's now Rambo and Penny. Here's our battle for the AM class win with under 10 minutes to go. John Bottom looks to neatly have this sorted. As Rambo's going to go for a move here, not quite. And at the front, John Bonham, a smooth, clean drive sees him convincingly out ahead. But we're going to have a proper scrap down to the end by the looks of it for between the AMs. As we have the Mustang of Penny and the Aston Martin of Rambo. Brent's hovering in the Porsche. Not quite so close behind. As we have a new driver in the pits by the looks of it. That's the 15 as Hunt's going to make a move on Bravo. Let's check in on that. The Mustang on the brakes late makes the move. The Mustang and the prancing horse. The Mustang wins this one. As Hunt is going to make the move on Bravo. Campos now opening up a slight bit of a gap to Zanotti. We'll see if he can do anything on catching up to Moda. At Ferry now also seemingly catching Francisco and making an effort to put himself on at P2, catching that Ferrari and opening up the gap to the Moda Ferrari behind. As we check back in on this battle, Hunt still looks to be ahead of Bravo, yes. And Penny holding on against Rambo. It's close, though. Down the straight, Rambo's going to try and pick up whatever slipstream he can. And tucks it in right behind through the chicane. This is going to be a fantastic battle. 7.5 minutes to go. We have a yellow flag. It is still the pit lane glitch for the 15. That will be... We're going to have to find out here. As a Luan is now in the pits as well in that Lamborghini. A slight gap for Penny now. Let's check in at the front here as Ferry. Close. Very close. This is gonna... We have two very, very fascinating podium battles across the two classes right now. As Rambo's not quite set up for the dive yet. He's gonna play it safe. Meanwhile, Ferry, Moda, inching ever closer towards a clash. As it's just 7/10 now between the Ferrari and the Aston. The lapped Mustang gets out of the way, goes into the sand. That's a dangerous, dangerous move under these conditions. Even as a lapper, you don't want to send yourself off. Here's John Bonham, 20 seconds ahead of the action, and that's only going to increase as P2 and 3 scrap it out. It's a tenth closer for Ferry now. We'll take a quick glance back to the front of the amps. Penny encountering traffic. It's another Mustang. One Mustang, two Mustangs, and the Aston. A beautiful shot there. An even more beautiful shot from behind there. As there goes Penny putting the lap down. And there goes Rambo on his way through as well. And slowly starts to get closer now. Ferry's right up on the back of Moda. Let's come to this. Inside 5/10. Campo still holding Zanotti. At least according to the ticker. Let's quickly have a look. Yes. Fascinating battle there still. But this is the one we want to see at the moment. As it's absolutely nothing between these two. What's the gap between Penny and Rambo? Advantage Penny. Opening up slightly. We're going to back to P2 here. This is for P2 overall. Francisco Moda and Ferry. Under 5 minutes to go. 4:30 on the race timer. John Bonham is going to be our determiner on how many laps we're going to run. Ferry keeping it close. Let's go back to the AM battle. Penny, 8/10 gap. The Mustang still holding on to it. Will he repeat from last week? Here's the Bonham Ferrari, way ahead. 20 seconds, over 20 and a half. Ferry's going for another move on Moda. Keeps it real close through the chicane. Or I believe that was the S's. Still right there, 2/10. The Aston gets real close, just looking to the inside. Ferry looking for the move here. Is he going to back out? Nothing doing through the chicane. Backs out a little bit, but Moda in the grass. That's going to compromise his exit. As here's Ferry through, makes the move, going into the last turn. Moda's right there still. Down the front stretch. This is going to be a duel. Can Moda get his spot back? 3.25 minutes to go. That's the move for Ferry into P2. Francisco Moda behind. Alexis Moda, just trailing down the straight, is going to try and get involved here. Craig Penny still holds the AM lead. 3/10 now as Rambo's getting closer. Prince behind, still a little bit out of the picture for that one. Bonham comfortably ahead. Ferry, 3/10 to Moda. That Ferrari is still right there. Alexis not quite in the battle yet. Francisco. Ferry seems to have a slight advantage in that Aston with that traction control. But this is going to go down to the wire. The Aston of Rambo catching up a little bit. No, falling back slightly from the Mustang of Penny. That's your AM class win if things stand up. Under 2 minutes to go. The next time Bonham hits the line, that is going to be the start of the last lap, and here it is. As that 34 Ferrari.
Alright, man. The leader in the final lap. Give it a final push.
Takes the white flag. Very behind. It looks like Moda's had an incident and has fallen back into the clutches of his brother. Ferry's going to hold on there, and barring any major mistakes, as fought himself into P2. Still a comfortable gap for Penny here, barring a huge lunge. Let's keep an eye on the Modas now. You see Francisco just in the distance there. It's about 2-3 seconds between the brothers. Over a second now from Penny to Rambo at the front of the AM class. As we see Hunt and Zanotti. No, Hunt and Bravo still battling it out. Campos still remains ahead of Zanotti. But here we follow our leader, Bottom. Here's Ferry behind. 2 seconds between the Modas. About a second and a half now between Penny and Rambo for the front of AM class. Ampero here started on the pole position, is still in the podium places in class. That car looks like it's been through the wars and the dirt just a little bit, but regardless, with that 4-second gap, it's probably going to be hardware for JC Ampero. But it's also going to, as we see a stop-go penalty for the 19, it's also going to be hardware for this man. It's John Bonham who took the lead, didn't look back. It's a convincing victory in the wet for John Bonham in that Ferrari. And now here's Ferry in the Aston Martin, breaking up a large chain of 296s. He'll bring that home. It's Ferry in P2, fighting his way up. And Francisco Moda brings it home, P3. His brother Alexis not far behind for P4. Campos P5. Could have been on for something greater, but it wasn't in the cards today. Hunt gets himself ahead of Bravo and holds on to it. And here's Penny in AM class. He's going to go back to back. 2 sevens, 2 wins in a row. It's Craig Penny bringing his Mustang to the top step of AM class, followed by Rambo behind, and then Prince is going to be slowly bringing it back around, coming through the chicane now. Closing out the podium places in AM class, here's our pole sitter, JC Ampero. Bringing it to the line for him, it's going to be third in class in AM. That's another podium for Ampero. Germán behind is fighting with Bailing. There's contact between the two. We have a battle to the line here. Olach coming through. A 3-way tilt to the line here. Who got it? It's Bailing, Germán, and then Olach. What a little battle to the line here. Garwood coming in just ahead of that lapped Lambo. I believe that's a Luan. Pilata coming to finish it out now in P16. Haji the Squirrel also there battling it out. He was hidden behind the boat of a Beamer. Oh my goodness. Gone straight on. Oh, sounds like we've got burnouts or something happening here. Let's check in. Oh, what an action-packed race today here at the Nurburgring. A convincing drive from John Bonham. But everywhere behind him, there were battles to be fought, and fought they were. Let's have a look at our positioning now. Overall, it's going to be Bonham taking the win with Ferry and Moda, followed by Moda. That's Francisco and then Alexis. So, for a podium and overall, we have Bonham, Ferry, and Francisco Moda. In our AM class, our top 3, our podium, Craig Penny, Rambo, and JC Ampero, followed by Germán and Will Garwood rounding out the top 5. And our silver drivers, we have Campos, who held on to win in class, followed by Hunt and Bravo. Slight misclick there. But let's get one more look here. Here's our overall standings from this one. Provisionally out of the race. Penalties from Aluon and Liriano. Schultz and Liriano were stranded in the pits from the start of the race. Another look at Am here. Once again, that's Penny, Rambo, and Ampero. Ampero holding on from pole position in this one. Taking advantage of the wet. But in qualifying, as one more look at Silver now. With Campos, Hunt, and Bravo, followed by Bailing and Anji the Squirrel. What a fantastic day of action here on a slick track in Germany at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit for everyone at ARL. Today's been Big Grid Tuesday. I'm Catherine Lane. Everybody have a great rest of your night.